So there's this bit of an argument between Thunderf00t and Sargon of Akkad, and I'm going to go too in-depth into this. I'm just going to tell you what you need to know to get a basic idea of what's going on. So basically, this guy, he hosted a YouTube channel with two other women, one of which he lived with. And one night he reportedly got high on shrooms. Now, at this point in time, well, when this started, we thought he had PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, from being in Iraq for a couple of years. Now it has come out that he hasn't even been deployed, but we didn't know this at the time. And he got high on shrooms and killed the woman he was living with. I think it was within the first 24 hours, Sargon of Akkad and a small group of other YouTubers did a live stream, and by mere coincidence, Thunderf00t just stumbled upon it while watching some YouTube videos, and he was doing some work, and the autoplay was set on, so he just autoplayed to that video. They were making jokes about the shooter. I haven't watched the full thing myself because I cannot sit through a live stream. Especially when it's just like one of those kind of live streams where it's just a bunch of people just talking and trying to make jokes, but it's just like it can be very boring very easily, and mine just wanders and I'm just like, I'm gonna watch this instead. But anyway, Thunderf00t found these jokes about a man shooting the person he lived with and loved distasteful, and so he basically made a video basically saying he's washing his hands off of this. He did make a couple good points, and he did make a few bad points, but eventually Sargon of Akkad made a video, basically defending himself, but he only took on Thunderf00t's bad points, and he didn't say a word about his good points. And then Thunderf00t made another video, which Sargon of Akkad made a video about that video, and Sargon said he's doubling down on his bullshit. But from my point of view, it looks like Thunderf00t's just sticking to his guns, which, depending on how you look at it, it could be either doubling down on your bullshit or sticking to your guns. So I've watched a couple of videos, and I just want to give my 2 cents on this. So who do I side with in this argument? Well, Thunderf00t was the first atheist YouTuber I had ever come encountered with, and a lot of his videos are very nostalgic for me because they were like some of the first videos I even watched on YouTube. His evolution versus creationist, and not evolution versus creationist. I think he did that as well. But his why do people laugh at creationist videos? Oh, I love them. Even though they haven't aged well, I still love to just go back and rewatch them. And then there's Sargon of Akkad, who is kind of the person I like to watch for news and politics and stuff. Being as Thunderf00t has basically just left SJWs, feminist and Christianity and all that behind, to just mainly focus more on science type videos, which I do love. Not as much as some of his older videos, but I still do love them because I do love science, and science is awesome. But really, I don't side with either of them. I think my opinion is closer to Noel Plum. Basically, you know, they both have good points. They both have bad points, but this isn't going to end anytime soon. Probably unless somebody managed to drag both of them onto a live stream with each other and then just get this sorted out there and then. And No Plum and Thunderf00t made Thunderf00t made a reference to something put a clip of what Sargon of Akkad said in one of his videos, which this is one good point that Sargon never actually tackled, where in one of his videos he said that the skeptic community, I think that's how he put it. I don't really think we should classify ourselves as skeptic community, because, you know, as Noel Plum said, you have to have really high standards if you want to associate your community with a word of such stature. But yeah, and he said that, you know, we shouldn't, you know, invite and cannibalize each other, because that's what feminists do. And Thunderf00t and Noel Plum disagreed with him on that, but Noel Plum also pointed out in one of Thunderf00t's really old videos that I think it was like, I can't remember. I remember it being old, like before he even had like a proper mic. I can't complain. I'm recording my audio with my webcam. But that was basically a house divided against itself cannot stand, which is basically the same thing, but he was saying this back in 2011, and Noel Plum said even back then he didn't agree with him then, and he doesn't agree with Sargon that he's stating it now. And I have to agree with Noel Plum. If we just ignore you know, people in our community that are saying or doing you know, things that we would usually demonize someone outside of our community for doing, then that's just not right. But I do believe that if this continues on for too long, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it does pose a real threat of just tearing the community apart, potentially at least. But the Amazing Atheist surprisingly hasn't made any comment on this, because he knows of Thunderf00t. Heck, he even stated one time that the anti-feminist community nowadays is just hearty ha ha, look how stupid this feminist is, and which I can agree with him. On some points that some people in the anti-feminist community are a lot like that. And he stated like him and Thunderf00t were you know, actually challenged their arguments on like these like most nowadays, who are mostly just like pwnage channels like Undoomed and Bearing. And he did state like Sargon of Akkad is probably like someone he would hire or hold with equal like honor to himself, and equal regard to himself and Thunderf00t. Which now that him and Thunderf00t are actually engaged in an argument, I'm surprised he's not said anything. But there is a video he has released recently. I think it's probably like one of his latest released. I can't remember. He might have released a couple more videos since then. Videos which is surprisingly suitable for this, because it's not about Thunderf00t or Sargon. It's about his own thing. Like he got flagged one time for making jokes about about a calamity. I can't remember exactly what it was, so I wasn't paying too much attention. But this did strike me as eerily similar to what Thunderfoot and Sargon are going on about right now, where he was getting flagged for telling making dark humor before the bodies have even cooled, and he stated in his video that that could be like a coping mechanism for some people to just make jokes about it to, ease and get their minds off it. But they can't. He's trying to tell them, have a go at them for telling him to not make those jokes, because for them that could be a way for them to deal with this tragedy is to stop people from making bad jokes about them. He explained it a lot better than I'm doing right now, and I would definitely suggest checking out his video on it. I'll have a look for it, and if I find it, I'll put a link down in the description. But this could be perfectly put for this situation, which is why I thought it was just like, ooh, yeah, he might not want to say something about it, but this could just be like, okay, I'm gonna say something about it, but I'm gonna hide it so that it sounds like I'm just talking about something I'm currently going through, or maybe I'm just looking too deeply into this, which I tend to do sometimes. But like I said, neither is in the wrong, because Thunderfoot's not in the wrong for trying to stop, not stop, but criticizing Sargon for making dark humor before the bodies have gone cold, but because that could be a way that he copes with stuff like this, and Sargon, the way Sargon and his friends could deal with this is by making jokes about it and all that. So neither is in the right, neither is in the wrong. That's just my opinion on it, really. And I hope these two will stop arguing about it before it gets out of hand and it just becomes a massive internet flame war with Thunderfoot elitists having to go at Sargon elitists and vice versa, and then a whole bunch of people like me that are in the middle saying that neither are right and neither are wrong get also getting caught in the crossfire. But yeah, that's all I have to say on this. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.